So this segment is a repeat from yesterday's show because I got something wrong. Now, I guess the post came out after Hotspot reported that Bassem Youssef's account got deleted off of X. I'm here to tell you that that is incorrect. Bassem Youssef's account did not get deleted by Elon Musk or anyone from X. That is false. That is fake news. So I deleted that video from Odyssey, from Rumble, and I unlisted it from our YouTube page. So that video should not be considered any kind of source of information, and I will be deleting it after I post this correct video. So what actually happened to Bassem Youssef's X account? Well, Bassem Youssef is on Instagram, okay? And so he posted what happened here. So it was a while before he did post it, but here's the correct information of what happened. So here he went on to say, I'm not sure if or when my Twitter account will be back. I'm here on Instagram and Facebook, and any other account posting as me on Twitter is fake. I don't wish to make any media statements or interviews about that now. Thank you. So there was a quick follow-up. Here's what happened. So no, my X account wasn't taken down by X, and I don't wish to falsely victimize myself using this. 2, when safety issues concerning my loved ones are alleviated, I might consider coming back. 3, I wish to deal with this away from media. 4, I will be posting my content on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So, X had nothing to do with it, and he deactivated it by himself. So, no, Elon Musk did not delete Bassem Youssef's X account. It's quite clear that he doesn't want to talk about it with the media, and he will be keeping it to himself. He wants to make sure that, I guess, his family's safe. And let's face it, folks, on social media, I'm going to pull this up here again. Look, social media can be a beautiful place. Social media can be a wonderful place. But there are scumbag people out there. And again, I'm going to read these 4 points again that he has posted on his official Instagram account. No, my X account wasn't taken down by X, and I don't wish to falsely victimize myself using this. 2, when safety issues concerning my loved ones, and family comes first here, are alleviated, I might consider coming back. 3, I wish to deal with this away from media. And 4, I still will be posting content on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So I apologize. Obviously, these posts on his Instagram account came out after. But I just want to make sure that that is factually correct because you, my audience, deserve to know that. But this does say a lot about what we're seeing on social media, the things that we are facing off against, and what it means in the long run, for us to be on these platforms. And I understand that there are a lot of people out there on social media that are easily triggered, that are easily angry, because let's face it, we live in a day and age where everything is hypercharged, everything is emotionally connected, and people are not critically thinking for themselves, unfortunately. And I wish that wasn't the case, but I'm pretty sure Bassem Youssef will come back on his own terms, on his own accord. And so for that, we here at Hard Limbs Media do hope for him to return. But again, his account wasn't deleted by anybody from X. It wasn't deleted by anybody associated with Elon Musk. Bassem Youssef did it by himself, and it's quite clearly a personal issue. And I think we all need to respect his choices and what he has done. So we have covered him here before on the show. And, he's been a great voice for the people of Gaza. He has been one of the few ones speaking truth to power and has been unapologetic in his statements. He has run through the gauntlet, be it through liberal media and conservative media, and he's one of the dauntless few. However, on yesterday's show, I did bring up what happened to Richard Medhurst, and I think it's only fair because I added those two stories together, and they still are connected in many ways, about the dangers of social media and of censorship, and we need to stay one step ahead. So for those of you who don't know or are finding out now, Richard Medhurst was arrested and detained at Heathrow Airport. He was there for almost 24 hours being questioned, and I think it's only fair that we hear his statement again once I reclip this segment and make it available for all of you to watch again.
My name is Richard Thomas Medhurst. I'm an internationally accredited journalist from the United Kingdom. On Thursday, as I landed in London Heathrow Airport, I was immediately escorted off the plane by 6 police officers who were waiting for me at the entrance of the aircraft. They arrested me, not detained, they arrested me under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act of 2000 and accused me of allegedly, quote, expressing an opinion or belief that is supportive of a prescribed organization, unquote, but wouldn't explain what this meant. One officer took my bags, and when I asked why he was still back in the aircraft, I was told, look, mate, you can get nicked right here in front of everyone or in there, your choice. So I was taken to an adjacent room, patted down, my phone confiscated. I was not allowed to inform my family. Despite being calm and cooperative, I was handcuffed with something that placed my shoulders in an awkward position and my wrists on top of rather than next to each other. The handcuffs were extremely tight. Despite the police loosening them, they left marks on me for 2 days. The police took me down onto the runway, put me in a police van, essentially a mobile cage, and informed me that everything was being recorded. The van was cramped. I had to struggle the entire time to keep my balance and try not to fall over as we drove to the police station. And once inside the station, they searched me again for the second time within 10 minutes. I was told to sit on a bench, remove my shoes, remove my socks. I was told to turn my socks inside out and hold them up for the officers to inspect. They also made me hold up my feet so they could check them as well. The officers took me to a room with UV lights, which they told me is used to catch burglars who are sprayed with something. I have no idea why they did this since they just removed me off of a plane. My suitcase was then opened in the lobby and ransacked. All of my journalistic equipment and devices were seized, including phones, SIM cards, wireless microphones, headphones, even my shoelaces. They later took my DNA as well, my fingerprints, palm prints, and photographed me. I was placed in solitary confinement in a cold cell that smelt like urine. There was barely any light, and the bed, if you can even call it a bed, was simply a small concrete ledge with a paper-thin mattress. The cell had no windows, no heating, no toilet paper. I was recorded 24/7 with audio and video, even when going to the toilet. I had to eat food with a piece of cardboard that you were supposed to fold in two in order to scoop up the meal. The police said that I have the right to inform someone that I'm locked up. So I said, okay, I want to call my family. And then they'd go, well, your calls are withheld because of the nature of the alleged offense. I tried to ask, well, what's the point of a right if you can just randomly withdraw it? Why tell me that I have this right at all? And one of them said something along the lines of, well, it's not an absolute right. It can be waived. Similarly, they said I had the right to know why I was being detained. So I asked again, and the police would say something like, well, we're just the arresting officers. We don't really know. Or this will be explained to you during the interview, or some other generic response. Now, despite the police officers' civility and cheerfulness, I felt that the whole process was designed to humiliate, intimidate, and dehumanize me and treat me like a criminal, even though they must have been aware of my background and that I'm a journalist. I was under surveillance almost the entire time from the moment I was arrested until I was released, be it in the police van, in the station, the cell, all of it.
Now, I want to pause here. Look, what happened to him, what happened to Richard Medhurst is not right, but we are seeing this happen to more and more journalists across the political spectrum, not just those that are progressive or left-leaning, but conservative, libertarian. We're seeing a lot of people being censored, silenced, and suppressed. Look at the fact that Tulsi Gabbard is apparently on a terrorist watch list, even though she serves in the United States Army National Guard. You also have people who are being followed and censored, like what's happening to Scott Ritter. Also, how can we forget what happened to Julian Assange or Edward Snowden? Folks, we're living in very, very, very dystopian times in which what we post and what we say on social media apparently upsets the powers that be. And as I covered on yesterday's show, the United Kingdom apparently, from what we have read, from what we have seen, can go after somebody for what? Posting a mean tweet that could hurt your feelings. Hey, listen, we also covered on the show how supposedly UK government can extradite somebody here to from the United States to the UK because they might have retweeted something that upsets Her Majesty's government. Listen, we don't want to do a repeat of something that happened in 1776, okay? People of Great Britain, tell your government's being a little bit out of pocket.
No privacy whatsoever. Many of my requests were also delayed or outright ignored. When I was detained, I asked for water several times. The police would always say, sure, but then I ended up waiting hours for a tiny cup of water. I asked if I could have my own clothes because I was in a t-shirt. It was cold and I couldn't sleep. They said they'd give me a pullover, but never did. although one guard did give me a second blanket. So you have to nag and nag for the most basic things. And this is why I was afraid that they weren't even going to call a solicitor for me. I was able to see the nurse on one occasion, but on 3 other occasions, when I asked to see the nurse, they'd say yes and then nothing. For many hours, no one in the world knew what had happened to me or where I was. Only the police could call a solicitor for me. I had to ask like 4 or 5 different guards for several hours until I finally received a call. Some of my solicitor's calls did not get through or were not answered. One of the calls, my solicitor was told, would be monitored, and so they simply refused to take it. I asked to speak to the solicitor afterwards when that happened, but I was not allowed to. In total, I spent almost 24 hours in detention. At no point whatsoever was I allowed to speak to a family member or a friend. After waiting 15 hours, I was finally interviewed by 2 detectives. The interview lasted about an hour and a half, maybe something like that. So there's clearly no need to hold me there this entire time. But I believe this was done on purpose to try and rattle me psychologically. That failed. I categorically and utterly reject all the accusations by the police. I am not a terrorist. I have no criminal record. Prior to this incident, I'd never been detained in my entire life. I'm a product of the diplomatic community, and I'm raised to be anti-war. Both of my parents won Nobel Peace Prizes for their work as United Nations peacekeepers. They had a tremendous effect on my worldview and outlook and instilled in me the importance of diplomacy, international law, and peace. I myself am a victim of terrorism. When I attended the British school in Islamabad, the Egyptian embassy adjacent to my school was blown up in a double bombing. I categorically and unequivocally condemn terrorism. I am a Medhurst. My family goes back 1,000 years in this country. I come from a long line of public servants. My father served in the London Metropolitan Police before entering the United Nations. He is an expert and an authority on counterterrorism who taught me much. My grandfather was in the Royal Air Force during World War II, and his father before him in the British Army in World War I. I perhaps don't have the same career paths as them, but I consider my journalism to be a public service and my way of doing my bit for the country by providing a counterweight to mainstream media. I love my country. I respect its laws and its legal institutions. I get the feeling, nevertheless, that those like myself who are speaking up and reporting on the situation in Palestine are being targeted. I had booked my ticket to London on the same day, and yet an entire team of police were mobilized to arrest and question me.
Now, that is very concerning because, one, it tells me that you are being followed, so say hello to your Secret Service, NSA, CIA, FBI, DOD handler. How you guys doing? You know, try not to disrupt our lives too much. But who thought it was a good idea to staple together 1984, Brave New World, and Fahrenheit 451 into one big manual? You know, those 3 books were supposed to be warnings, dangers, you know, on what not to do, what polite society should avoid. You think people would be paying attention, but I guess somebody read that and said, hey, all these things in these 3 big books here sound like a good idea to help out the neoliberal establishment.
This is why I felt that this was a pre-planned, coordinated arrest. Many people have been detained in Britain because of their connection to journalism, sometimes under the Terrorism Act, sometimes not. I think of Julian Assange, Craig Murray, Kit Clarenberg, David Miranda, Vanessa Beeley. As far as I'm aware, I'm the only journalist, however, to have been arrested and held for up to 24 hours under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act. Keep in mind the conditions that I outlined previously. The psychological element where you're made to wait endlessly. You've not been told what you're accused of, nor when you'll be questioned. Now, despite having been released unconditionally, I do not feel that my bail is truly unconditional. I'm effectively in limbo, not knowing if I will be charged in 3 months or if I will go to prison. Journalism is my livelihood. I have an ethical and a moral responsibility toward the general public to inform. But I feel that a muzzle has been placed on me. I simply do not know if or how I can work at all during the next months. Palestine, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, remain the most pressing news story in the world. However, it seems that any statement, no matter how innocent, how factual and well-intentioned, can be skewed and twisted into an offense of the highest order. This is precisely the danger and the absurdity of the Terrorism Act that I have always sought to impress upon the public, long before I ever became a victim of it myself. It is out of control. It has no place in a democracy. Counterterrorism laws should be used to fight actual terrorism, not journalism. We cannot call ourselves a democracy as long as reporters are dragged off of planes and detained and treated like murderers. I am disgusted that I am being politically persecuted in my own country.
Unfortunately, he's not going to be the last one. And sadly, this is happening in a lot of quote-unquote democracies or republics where there should be freedom of speech, freedom of the press, protection of the press. We hear that all the time. This should not have happened to Richard Medhurst. And earlier in this segment, when I showed the Instagram post from Bassem Youssef, and again, to be very clear for those tuning in, Bassem Youssef's account was not deleted by X. However, he deactivated it for many reasons. Number one, he is very concerned about his safety. Number two, he deactivated on his own accord. Again, number three, he doesn't want to get the media involved. And number four, he might consider coming back. But his account wasn't deleted. But due to the fact that he has been getting a lot of hate, be it from the trolls or other people that really wish malicious harm, we're living in very concerning times, dystopian times. And where free press and free speech is being threatened all the time, is this the pathway we want to go down? And by the way, folks, I mean, this is what's happening in the UK should concern all of us here in the United States, because what's happening there can come here. But, oh, wait, it already is here. Because we here at Heartland's Media have been censored and suppressed, not once, but 9 times. We've seen our friends at Due Dissidence and INN and RBN and Jimmy Dore Show and so many others be hit across the political spectrum. No matter where you stand, what happened to Richard Medhurst can and probably will happen to you too.
Now, as I do not know if I can still report as a journalist for the next months, I kindly ask you for your support during these times. Freedom of the press, freedom of speech really are under attack. The state is cracking down and escalating to try and stop people from speaking out against our government's complicity in genocide. Please stand not just with me, but with the others who are still inside. I know what they're going through. And the best relief is to know that people on the outside are rooting for you and doing everything they can to get you out. Thank you.
So as a final word to this segment, it is this. I wish things are going to get better. I want to tell you that things are going to get better, but unfortunately they won't, because we have a system of constant censorship and surveillance. This is what happens when we as free citizens, be it in the United States or anywhere else across the globe, when we silently and obediently give our consent for our ruling figures to spy on us, to watch us, to follow us, to stalk us, to hurt us, we lose our ability to speak out. We cannot trust the people in the suits and ties that have our best interests. I know for a long time, corporate media and the political system has tried to portray this image that they are smart people, that they know what's going on or they know what's best for us. Truth be told, they don't, and they never will. And that's an issue that we all have to come to terms with in regards towards how we live as a society. And no one should just deactivate their social media because they feel threatened, like what happened to Bassem Youssef. And no one, like Richard Medhurst, should not have 6 police officers waiting to arrest him because of what? Controversial social media posts or something of that nature, reporting, doing his job. Is this the fate for all journalists? And by the way, yes, this will be the fate for all journalists if we allow this to happen. Even corporate media is being careful what they say now. Well, they've always followed the line, but even now, the muzzle's being tied on their face even harder, and they love it. But we here, Heartland's Media and the rest of independent media, we need to speak out. We need to stand up to this bullying and these threats and also fight for free speech. Because once it's gone forever.
as they walked him away. You told yourself extremists come in all different shapes. Met his eyes and lowered your gaze. Is it too late for us to ever change? We are collecting the dust of better days. They're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to be safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Sheriff stopped your daughter today. Pepper sprayed her twice in the face. He must have had good reason if he'd treat her that way. At least that's what they've taught you to say. But is it too late for us to ever change? Once we're collecting the dust of better days. They're always watching us, but we're never safe. We're not meant to feel safe, not meant to escape. We aren't meant to wake. Feds arrived and had you detained. Said you'd made some posts they once changed. Tased you till you felt like you'd forgotten your name, or life before they had you contained. Oh, life before they had you contained. The SWAT team took your neighbor today.